slacking today. Oh, just kidding.
Thank you.
Please leave your phone on so we can have donuts.
Is the world coming to an end?
Morning, Jim.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 9 a.m., Tuesday, March 26th, and welcome to the weekly meeting of the Cuyahoga County Board of Commissioners. We will open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and did Cindy led it last week? Commissioner Waterman, you want to lead it this time? Thank you, Commissioner Waterman. Appreciate that. A couple of housekeeping chores. First off, if you have a cell phone, please silence it or turn it off. If you do get a call that you need to take, please step out into the rotunda and take the call so you don't disrupt the meeting. This meeting is being streamed live, so if you do wish to address the board, you certainly will probably be on the stream. Just so you're aware of it, a heads up kind of a thing. Is there anyone in the audience today that would like to bring something to the board that is not on the agenda? We would like to allow some time for them. It wouldn't be anything that we could act on because it would have to be on the agenda, but you certainly could bring it up to our attention. Seeing none, is there any?
We do have one item,
One item.
the disaster resolution.
Yes, we do have a disaster resolution that we will be bringing up
Okay.
right away. Is there any items on the agenda that any of the board members feel there's a conflict of interest with them? Seeing none, then
Make a motion to
the
approve the agenda with that addition. the
we have a
disaster
motion
declaration.
by Hatton
Second.
to approve the agenda with the one addition, and a second. Motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any
Mr.
discussion?
Chair?
Yes.
Is this the appropriate time to ask that item number 15 be moved forward if possible? I know we have a lot of people here specifically for that item. Could we move that item up a little bit on the agenda?
Yeah, we probably can.
Okay.
We got one we're moving up right away, but we'll see where it would work in. Okay.
Okay.
Is there anyone here? Is there anyone not here that you want to wait to make sure they're here? All right.
I don't believe so. No.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. How about the minutes of the
Move
March
to
19th
approve
meeting? We
as
have a motion
emailed.
by Hatton,
Second.
second by Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. At this time, I'm going to jump and move the schedule around a little bit and ask Jim Sutton to come forward with this disaster resolution so he can get back to sandbagging. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Turn on your mic, Joe. There you go.
Well, he's getting set up. I just appreciate everything that Jim and everyone involved in this flood disaster situation has been doing. It's it's just good. I was out to the extension building yesterday afternoon, and there was a big crew out there, and it was beautiful. I mean, it was really nice to see all the people show up and work, and you got a lot done. So thank you, Jim, for all your efforts.
You bet. I just got a few things on my monthly report that I'll go over here real quick, and then we'll go to the other. Begin with, I'd like to thank Sheriff Howell and his staff for helping distribute sandbags to the public through the sheriff's office and the jail. We probably went through 7,000 bags here at the office and the jail for the public.
Do we have plenty? Do we have?
We have plenty. We started out, that was probably a little over 100,000 bags.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of bags left. That's not a problem.
Good.
Also, Milo Ford and his custodial staff have been very helpful with our efforts out at the Extension Center. The Army Corps of Engineers, brought in a sandbag filling machine. That's worked very well. They're going to be continuing to fill sandbags until noon today. As of, yesterday evening, that sandbag machine has a counter on it, and we were at 15,028 sandbags that had been filled using that machine in 2 days' time, 16 hours. And also we had volunteers that were out there at the site that were very helpful, both in running and working with that sandbag machine, and also individuals that were filling sandbags by hand. And the hand-filled bags, Matt estimated that there was 1,000 to 2,000 bags that were filled by hand. We did have a couple disruptive individuals that were out there that we had to deal with, and
Yeah, I saw it.
There are a couple of our
yeah.
employees.
And then we
From her
also
office.
we also caught this individual out there helping with his crew, and they were very, very helpful in getting the job done out
It's the
there.
highway department.
So, search and rescue team members have been helping by hauling pallets and hauling pallets full of sandbags. So I thank search and rescue team and for their equipment and their personnel. They've been very helpful. The annual weather spotter training that we have scheduled, we have it scheduled for today and tomorrow evening. That's still on. We're going to be filling sandbags out there at Extension Center until noon, but at 3 o'clock we'll be holding our annual weather spotter training at 3 o'clock at Extension Center in the kitchen area. And then tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. We'll have the second session. Sheriff Howell and I are in the process of visiting all the rural cities, and we're making a point to attend a city council meeting at each site. And we've got those scheduled. We've already been out to Wallace, and we've got 3 more of the cities that we'll be visiting this month. And the last thing, as far as my monthly report, Sherry and I have a regional meeting in Aberdeen on April 17th, and so we'll be submitting a travel request to attend that regional emergency management meeting in Aberdeen, and that's all I've got for my monthly report, unless there's some questions here this morning.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay. The next thing we have, do you want to go to the resolution?
Yes, please. It's in your packet, a copy of the resolution.
Do you want me to read through it, Cindy? Or?
Yep.
Okay. I'll read
LEO.
through this would be for Resolution 2018-6, resolution for declaration of an emergency disaster. Whereas Cottington County, South Dakota has suffered severe damage brought on by spring floodwaters on the date of March 1st, 2019 and ongoing. Whereas Cottington County has committed all available resources and taken all possible actions within the jurisdictional boundaries to combat and to alleviate the emergency disaster. Local resources are not adequate to cope with the situation. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Cottington County Board of Commission at a regular meeting held on March 26, 2019, it is hereby requested that the governor declare an emergency disaster to exist in Cottington County. It will be dated today, signed by Chairman Meyer and Johnson, and attested by Cindy Brugman, auditor.
So we'll just need a motion to declare an emergency because this was not on the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
So a motion by Commissioner Van Duzen, a second by
Hanton,
Hanton.
I thought.
Any discussion? Any discussion? the discussion that I would have, Jim, is that now this declaration goes to the governor, is that right?
It'll be forwarded through the State Office of Emergency Management to the governor.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and I'll sign that baby right now.
Without this resolution, we would not qualify for any kind of grant funding, is that right?
This is the
That's the first
process
step.
we have to go through to get FEMA
Yep.
funding to help
Just go from there.
with our expenses.
Okay, I'm going to sign this and then just take it into Debbie and she'll put the seal on it.
There you go. Thank you, Jim. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
Jim? Here you go.
All right, let's go on to, back to number 5, action to approve a couple of plats. Luke is here with us. Good morning, Luke.
Morning, Luke.
Good morning.
I've got a copy for myself. I didn't make them.
Yeah, I forgot to send them earlier. And I'll probably send the other ones around while we're talking.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay, I didn't think about it. All right, then pass those around, third grade style.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. I will get to these plats here and get through them. We have 2 plats. The first one is a plat of Bill Hoffman Edition in the Northeast Quarter, Section 18, 11854 west of Fuller Township. This property is just a few miles northwest of where I grew up on my bus route. For those of you who don't recall my bus route as well as I do, that is southwest of Florence, about 1.5 miles as the crow flies. This is a simple plat. It's the site of a farmstead addition. The only bit of fun for this was the fact that this farmstead exemption was approved about 12 years ago. The condition was they needed to fulfill a plat. Our conditions are on those sorts of things that they need to have the plat done within a certain period of time. They didn't have it done. They acknowledged that. They knew that. They came back and just went through the formality of the farmstead exemption. All was well and recommended for approval. There is one point I will point out. This leaves about a 20-acre parcel that frankly doesn't have building rights unless it's tied to something else. So a condition of the farmstead exemption was that they had to sign a letter saying, we get it, that we can't build on this unless we own it with something else. They agreed to do that.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? This was unanimously approved by the Planning and Zoning Board last week. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Go on to the next one, the Old
Sure. This plat is the plat of Olerud Edition in the southeast quarter of Section 6 in Elmira Township. This is straight north of Watertown on Old 81. Figure out how many miles. about 2.5 miles straight north of town. There's a section line right away that goes up to there. There was quite a bit of discussion at the meeting about this. However, this was more on a variance that didn't necessarily affect the plat itself. This plat, simply put, I'm going to explain why it was necessary. They had 2 pieces of property that were about 20 acres apiece. So as a zoning officer, I couldn't issue a building permit because even though they had one full sheet of paper, they weren't formally tied together. That's what they're doing here, is that by doing the plat of Olerud Edition, they're tying them together into a legal description that now as a zoning officer, I can issue a building permit to. So that's all this is doing, is it's making about a 40-acre piece that I can issue a building permit
Make
to.
a motion to approve.
Motion
that.
by Hatton,
Second.
second by Gable. Any discussion? I appreciate your visual aid.
I was waiting, can you put it back together now? I'm waiting for like a magic act, so, no? Okay.
I don't have the stretcher with me.
And my scotch tape is missing this morning. So. Any other discussions? Any other discussion? That was also unanimously approved at the Planning and Zoning Board. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Luke.
Thanks,
Thank
Luke.
you.
Thanks, approved.
All right, we're back to monthly reports, and the sheriff is not here.
Sheriff is busy today.
Yeah, he can't be here.
He's kind of busy this morning, and I think if you've been out and about, you know what he's doing. I did highway department, sheriff, and everyone else. I did, when I came in early this morning, I did meet a trailer load of barricades heading north by my place, so they're still up barricading roads. Let's go on then to number 7, action to accept a proposal for inmate health care services. And Lee has been working with that. You want to take the lead on that, Lee?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is what we discussed this thoroughly last week, but we had a mistake in the way the agenda was worded. So this one is properly worded with the action to accept a proposal for inmate health care services. So I make a motion, and I sent the sheet around again that I was using last week, but to accept the proposal from MendCare for jail inmate health care services, and that the amount for that is at an annual rate of $167,100 per year. So, and of course, we'll still have to come back with a contract that's negotiated and authorize the chairman to sign.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Gable, a second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? We did work this over pretty hard last week.
Yeah, so just so we don't have to repeat, we talked about it for a good 20 minutes or so last week, so just so people know that we did discuss it, so.
Just so people don't think that this is just a quick and done, we did go into quite depth last week at our meeting. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Lee. Let's go on then to number 8, and Lee, we're going to let you take the lead on this since you are
Okay.
involved in this committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
And
Chairman.
invite your guests forward and introduce yourself so that everyone will know who you are.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is, I wanted to bring to your attention, I mentioned it briefly, I think in a couple opens, the open portion of the agenda a couple times, but we have a grant opportunity under the auspices of the Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative. And also, most of you have not met Annie Brokenleg yet. She's the state JDAI coordinator. So as you know, Cottington County is one of the participant counties in JDAI. And the goal of JDAI is to provide alternatives to detention for juveniles. And we have an opportunity from the Department of Corrections to get some money to get started with that.
Good morning, Annie, and welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, introduce yourself. Talk right into the mic, will you, so the press will know who you are.
Go for it.
Yes, so as Commissioner Gable said, my name is Annie Brokenleg. I'm the state JDAI coordinator. I work for the judicial branch of the South Dakota state government. Commissioner Gable summed it up pretty well, that Cottington County is a JDAI site, right? Which means that you are eligible up to a $60,000 grant through the Council for Juvenile Services, which falls under the Department of Corrections. I provided you all with a fact sheet just so you have kind of the basics. But I'd like to expand upon what we've discussed in the local JDAI collaborative so far, in terms of how you all are looking at wanting to spend this money and what we're looking at applying for.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah.
So what we've been doing is in both the JDAI committee, and Annie's going to go over the details, but in the JDAI committee, which meets every month, so Commissioner Van Duzen and I are on that one, along with the sheriff and Matt and a bunch of other people, Judge Means. So it's a good community representation. But then also the specifics of what Annie's going to talk about is we've been mostly talking about with the Boys and Girls Club. That's the kind of the focal point of it in teen court. So please take it away.
Yeah, and yes, thanks for mentioning that, because the funding opportunity does need to have the blessing of the county, right? And you would be the fiscal pass-through agent, but it would be Boys and Girls Club would be the manager. They'd be the grant manager on the project. That money would be contracted to them to carry out the work. And so, yeah, in our collaborative, what, we've been spending a year going over data, looking at the core strategies of JDAI. And so what we've come up with and discussed is this idea of creating a position with the grant support, and this is a 3-year grant cycle, that would be what I think we just discussed yesterday, would be called a youth diversion coordinator through the Boys and Girls Club, who's already doing diversion work at the agency. The location is right next to the high school. It's pretty perfect. And so this person would do JDAI coordination, which Todd Stark, who's currently your JDAI coordinator, but also a full-time probation officer with juvenile caseload, adult caseload, and really no time to dedicate towards JDI coordination, although he's been wonderful. So this person would be able to fill that, which is your data collection. This is making sure that implementation of the 8 core strategies of JDAI is happening here in Cottington County. And then, coordinating those work group meetings and agendas. But obviously knowing that's not going to be a full-time job in Cottington County, and really where the meat and where I think you'll see the most benefit is the actual work with youth that this position would do. So we've discussed this person would do diversion coordination, so they'd work closely with the state's attorney's office, who we've been in conversation with. They would do an assessment with the youth and family to determine what, if any, services would be needed going forward, with the goal of reducing recidivism and having a positive impact for that youth. So utilizing current programs in the community, but also, all JDAI sites across South Dakota will have a position similar. So utilizing like a peer-to-peer network, and okay, hey, we're seeing high runaways. What are they doing in Aberdeen for runaways, and looking to bring that here to Cottington. So I think lots of exciting things that can come out of this position, but I just kind of listed the duties that we've talked about so far. And then this idea too of, if we're talking alternatives to detention, that diversion is really on the front end, right? And that would be a police report that's going to the state's attorney. So working with those kids, but then also the kids that are being referred to detention with the risk assessment instrument. So if the kid is scoring at a level that is warranting a stay in an alternative, which you all don't have here in Cottington County, you don't have the numbers to support building an alternative facility, right? That this grant could also, a chunk of it would pay for the transportation and full reimbursement amount if a kid needed to be held in shelter care in Sioux Falls. What we would want this position to be doing is facilitating that placement and making sure that they're not sitting for a long period of time, right? That's expedited. Also knowing, if we looked at your data last year, you had 4 kids that scored for an alternative, so the number is very low. Not all 4 of those kids would necessarily need to be transported. If they have a family member that they can stay with, they could be held still in the community. And then we've explored electronic monitoring, which could be used as an alternative as well, and this position would be responsible for tracking that. So lots of really good things that could come out of this.
So if I could just add, Mr. Chairman, so the emphasis is really kind of the case management of juveniles that end up in this situation. And one thing that helped me to kind of clarify this, so you have, it's called a diversion coordinator, but there's kind of the terms that we started using in JDAI are alternatives. So that's kind of when somebody's arrested and you don't want to put them in jail. So that's the purpose of the RAI, the risk assessment instrument, is to figure out, how much risk is this individual? Do they need to be put in jail? For a juvenile, that's pretty rare that they would need to go to the detention center. So that's why we need these alternatives. And then the diversion is to kind of keep a person out of like a teen court, to keep a person out of the criminal justice system without a record. So you got alternatives and diversion. So this person would be kind of the case manager. That paid the bulk of the load, but then also the coordination of the committee and some of the other kind of details of it. And then on the sheet it says that this is kind of the direction that the committee is going, kind of the direction we're going with the Boys and Girls Club. And this grant application is going to be due May 17th. And so Annie and the Boys and Girls Club are being a huge help in putting that application together. So, but
So where does the funding go? Does it go to the county? Does it go directly to the Boys and Girls Club?
So you'll be the pass-through, and you're the county auditor, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, so how this has worked, because the council's funded other things across the state and with the county beat. So yeah, and we can kind of narrow down specifics with our technical assistant who will be here next week.
I'm just thinking for audit purposes.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
we're the recipient of the grant,
Right.
we're going to need, and I'm assuming this person will be paid through the Boys and Girls
yes.
Club, not the county. Okay.
Correct.
There's just tracking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So.
All right.
Yeah, so it will come to you as the county, and then you will
Yeah.
pass it.
Allot
I
it.
think
Yes.
some of the
Like
Yes.
the 911 fees or whatever, but what did you need to have in place to?
Well, I just
Yeah.
want to know, do we pay a lump sum out, or is it going to be a monthly thing? That's,
Some of the details we got to work out. I think
Okay.
most of it will be probably a lump sum, I
Okay.
believe, to the Boys and Girls Club, maybe, but that's just.
Yeah,
I'm
that
just guessing
question came up.
I'm
yeah.
guessing at this point, and then they're talking about shelter care needing to, there's maybe a possible reimbursement process that might be a little bit of detail work, kind of like a travel voucher type of thing. So, but,
okay,
those are
just
mechanical.
tracking is all I'm questioning
Yeah.
for Department of Legislative Audit.
Is this
Yeah. Okay.
dollar amount a one-time, or is that per year?
Per year.
So, and it's two or 3 years?
3 years.
3 years.
Okay.
And that's dependent on,
Oh, it's right there.
the duties
Yeah.
of what we wrote in the grant.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
they'll revisit it after 1 year, but
My question was, and I think that you answered is the coordination with the Boys and Girls Club, but apparently you'll be working, I mean, they're hand in hand.
Yeah, and we're so blessed to have
Because
that asset.
Really.
Teen Court has been very successful,
Yeah.
and you don't want to say anything to screw that up.
There are representatives from Teen Court that also sit on this JDAI committee as well, and they're there at every meeting, so it's a good partnership.
Yeah.
great partnership.
So kind of like expanding the spectrum of what's available from teen court to, different levels of, be it a little stronger or a little less for an alternative, so.
Well, according to the agenda, it says that we were going to discuss this today, but there's no
Right.
question about any action being done today, but
Yeah, so I wanted you to meet Annie, and then also just to get some more detail, because I've only mentioned this very briefly in previous meetings, so.
would we look forward to putting it on the agenda down the road here?
Sometime
How
in May.
soon?
Yeah, probably in May, it'll be in
Yeah,
May,
when
so.
it's,
Okay, all right.
right.
Very good.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Van Duzen requested that we bump item number 15 up a few minutes if we can, and if it's all right with, the sheriff isn't here, and he's the next one up in regard to inmates, so
Yeah,
this might be the time to do it, so. Action, number 9 is action to approve contracts. Whoa, I'm sorry, number 10 is where you want to go, action to authorize, or 15, I'll be all right, I'm gonna be all right. Action to approve a discretionary formula resolution for property values, and that resolution is in your packet. Everybody should have a copy of that.
Originally, this was numbered 2019-6, but because we had a disaster resolution first, we're changing this to 2019-7. It's not a technical thing or nothing important, just for our records.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, earlier, Commissioner Van Duzen did ask if he could read a summary of something that he's written up, and I agreed that he could do it if he did it quickly. So quickly.
So I'll read really fast. All right, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for the time. I bring to you today resolution number 2019-7 for your consideration. I'd like to give you a brief history on the resolution, how it came about. If you remember, back on February 19th, Watertown Development Company Director Chris Shilkin appeared in front of us along with members of the Watertown City Council in regards to the county's discretionary formula. Mr. Shilkin advised us at that time that the discretionary formula, which is set by counties under South Dakota Codified Law 10-6-35.1, is a critical economic development tool which is used to attract and retain investment within a community to lower a company's cost of doing business. communities face great pressure to develop incentive programs that rival the incentives in competing communities. And both Chris and I feel that this is one thing that as a county we can do to assist with that process. This resolution, if adopted here today, would be the first in the state of South Dakota to offer these incentives, thereby giving us here in Cottington County a tool that no other county currently has. SDCL 10-6-35.1 provides for a discretionary formula for reduced taxation for new structures and additions. That formula is set by individual counties here in South Dakota and can only go out for a period of up to 5 years. In 1996, Cottington County passed a resolution which set the discretionary formula at 20% for the first year and increased by 20% every year thereafter until reaching 100% in year 5. In 2003, the Cottington County Commission once again approved that same formula, which was 20% a year with a 20% increase every year thereafter. This resolution, as proposed, would allow Cottington County to set a discretionary formula at 0% for 5 years and 100% of the true and full assessed value in year 6 and each year thereafter. This formula would apply to new commercial development in Cottington County or industrial construction over $30,000. And on the amended version that you received here last week, it was also ag was also added to that. There is significant benefits to offering these incentives as it results to economic development. Jobs will be created in not only in Watertown, but in Cottington County with the additional workforce. There will also be new homes built. These residents will continue to eat in our restaurants, shop in our stores, and as said before, build homes here in our county, all of which is generating tax revenue for our immediate area, revenue that will not be generated if these businesses choose to not relocate here. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve this resolution, and I would yield the floor back to you.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Van Dusen, a second by, who seconded it? Gable? Any discussion? We'll open it up for discussion.
I just noticed that the $30,000 is not mentioned in this resolution. Does it need to be, or is it included in one of those statutes?
It's included in statute.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Any
And we-
discussion?
I guess I would just like to add to what Troy has already said. I attended a meeting at City Hall last night on housing, excuse me, market study and downtown analysis. And one of the key things that continually was brought up by people who want to develop some of these properties is, you know, they may be able to purchase them at a reasonable price, but the cost to rehab them is so costly. And any sort of incentive that we can do to try to help them, I think is important to give them maybe an opportunity that wouldn't otherwise be taken.
Okay, any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, I spoke with a businessman in Watertown here last week who owns multiple rental properties, and he also owns some commercial land out on South Highway 81, who's informed me that if this passes, he will build a building on that lot as a spec building. And so right now it's a concrete slab that he doesn't want to develop because he doesn't want to pay the taxes on it. So,
Any more discussion?
So is Amazon coming?
Amazon, yeah. Chris? Chris work on Amazon?
Yeah,
Well, I'll put in my 2 cents worth. First off, I want to congratulate the Watertown Development Company for achieving their goal that they had set up, and that was, I thought when we first looked at that, that was a big bite, but they have accomplished that. What I really appreciate the part of their news release the other day was the portion that they want to take and earmark for continuing education or for education. I've had several contacts from businesses in our community, and to be point blank with you, taxes were never mentioned. I mean, they say the reason that people aren't coming to Watertown is number one, labor, and number two, housing, or number two and number one, whatever you want to flip-flop. They said housing is absolutely ridiculous in Watertown compared to the other communities, and I don't have any studies to prove that. We have a realtor sitting out here, but housing is expensive in Watertown, and the labor force is not here. That's the number one and number two issue that I hear from them. A couple of the newer businesses that have started up in the community have talked to me, and they said it's just not fair. We didn't get any help. Why in the world should we turn around and assess the costs against our real estate to help someone else? And that could be a selfish point of view. The other point that I bring up right now is the timing is absolutely terrible for this to happen. It is. The timing is bad. I hope that everybody heard just the latest report this morning that the ag revenue is as low as it's been for years. And they looked at the 5-year, this was a Minnesota study, and it carry over to South Dakota will be the same way. In the past 5 years, this past year, the revenues received from ag products is as low as it's ever been. We have to represent the entire county. I am a very firm believer in economic development, no question about it, but we need to be careful that we don't give the farm away. And I use that term often simply because we don't want to tax our rural communities, our land owners, property owners, off of their land and whatever the case is. It's tough out there. We're having a terrible time passing a bond issue to build a jail, Now, the part that kind of bothers me the most is the new build part of that, the new build. Throw out a number, Cindy. What we look every year when we look at our revenues coming for the next year for the county, and this is the only way we have, the only revenue we get. Part of that is the new build.
Growth of new construction.
The growth and new construction is what that's called. And throw out a number. Let's say in those revenues, let's say it's $10,000. Let's just use that for an easy figuring number. Okay, number one, first year it's $10,000. Well, we could probably buy that. But then the next year it's $10,000 plus another $10,000. And then in year three, it's 10,000, 10,000, and 10,000. You understand where I'm going with that? So when you get up to year 5, all of a sudden that 10,000 we have lost out on revenues to the tune of what? A lot. I don't need to give the numbers to you, but you understand my concern. It's perpetual. It goes on and on and on. I certainly encourage economic development. Don't get me wrong, anyone. But why do we have to do it at the cost of, someone else's probably well-being? And I see Cindy's doing some punching here to see.
No, I'm just looking to see.
Oh, she's just looking,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't, there's no way I can give you any solid numbers without,
With that being said, the territory, the area, the district that I represent is a lot of ag and a lot of real estate out there. A lot of farmers, a lot of their farmland. Also, I represent a lot of the people, or all the people around Lake Kempesca, which everybody sitting here knows that that's probably one of the higher taxed areas in the community. And to be absolutely honest with you, I just don't feel that I can support this for those reasons. And I feel I needed to give you a reason why I can't support it. And maybe at a different time, maybe down the road, maybe we can look at something a little bit less, harmful. This past week, I attended another wind meeting. Maybe when we generate some revenues coming from some of these wind towers and we have some other sources of revenue besides just plain old real estate and growth, we can look at doing something like this. But in all honesty, I just don't feel right to be able to do that right now. It's not fair to our taxpayers and our community. That's my 2 cents.
Mr. Chair, I appreciate your comments. That's why we're a committee, and that's why we all have the right to speak, and I appreciate your comments. There are some people here, I believe, that would like to speak, Mr. Chair. If we could invite them.
Yeah, we can
to do
give
so.
them Couple minutes.
Okay.
Good morning. Joy.
Good morning.
Joe.
Morning, Joe.
You want to introduce yourself?
Joy Nelson, Haugen Nelson Realty. I see this resolution as a real opportunity for Watertown. It would spur economic, growth. We need that desperately here in Watertown. In my role as a real estate broker and developer, I work in all those sectors, commercial, ag, and residential. And I'm also a developer. So when I'm working with companies and retail companies that want to come to Watertown, we're an alternative, okay? But they are looking at other cities as well, and anything that we can offer them to get them here is just another feather in our cap. I've encountered that time after time after time. And as I meet with these people, I give them everything I possibly can that Watertown has to offer, but I know their next trip is to Brookings or Aberdeen, and they're exploring all different communities. So the more that we can offer them, the better our economic, growth will be for Watertown. As a fairness issue, Myron, I'll address what you said. There are new opportunities that come available through government and through business all the time, and nothing ever stays the same. So it's just an opportunity, for things to happen here. As far as workforce and housing, those two sectors go hand in hand. If the businesses come, the people will come and we'll build the houses. So we need that advantage to keep Watertown moving in the right direction. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for this community.
Thank you, Joy.
Yep.
Thank you, Joy.
Anyone else want a minute?
Thank you, Commissioners. Kyle Lallam, also a realtor with Haugen Nelson Realty. You talk about the economic impact for development and things like that, and now is not the time to make this change. The counterpoint to that is that if you don't address the ability for the county to offer a tax incentive for businesses to relocate here, you won't increase your base anyway. So, and I'll give you a perfect example. Agripor is a business that is down by Lake Norton. It's a business that has continually expanded, and it has impacted the real estate market. Employees are flooding into that area, and it has done an economic impact in that area. I heard last week on the radio of $1 billion annually. So it's revenues that will come in as a residual effect by giving a tax incentive on the front end. And that tax incentive goes away after 5 years, and your taxable revenues, not only on real estate and the improvements that are made to those industries, but also the ripple effect of new housing, of employees coming to town. They say that each new home purchase generates $25,000 to $30,000 in economic impact in the first year. That residual and ripple effect goes in perpetuity after that 5-year plan is done. If you don't offer the tax incentives and the businesses don't come, you're not going to generate any new revenue anyway. So by offering another option to be competitive in the marketplace, not only for Watertown, but some of these outlying communities, the outlying communities I feel would be the biggest benefactors of something like this, because it can drive those industries to Cottington County, and the long-term growth and the long-term financial gain that the county would make would more than justify itself. You can't address what businesses didn't get that opportunity. It's unfortunate that that's the way that it was set up, but I mean, we have to be aggressive and progressive in today's marketplace to stay competitive. So that's my sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? You have a minute. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Mike Lawrence. I'm a businessman here in Watertown. We recently had built 2 12-plexes up by LATI. You think I would be against this, but I'm not. I mean, I look at it as a developer for housing. To make like multifamily housing, I'm taking a $1 to $2 million risk. The county needs the housing, but it might not fill up right away. So your public partnership with me on this is that the ability to give me some of my taxes back while I fill it. because we're not guaranteed tenants right away. And I think that looking at it that way, sorry, I'm a little nervous.
That's okay.
Looking at it that way,
Just stop and take a deep breath.
yeah. Looking at it that way, you're actually partnering with these businesses to give them an opportunity to come to Watertown and giving them 5 years to make it before they have to start incurring more negative costs in not making it. So I look at it as almost a partnership because you're believing in them and they're believing in this county at the same time. So.
Mr. Chair, if I can ask Mike a question.
Yep.
Mike, you're a small business owner. You own a business in downtown Watertown. I would say that as a small businessman, if somebody, you and your wife decide to open a business, would this have made a difference?
Well,
And potentially in the startup costs and your ability to do that?
Not really in the downtown district because I'm not going to be seeing, I didn't expand my building.
Right.
I didn't, so that, in that aspect of my business, it's not helping. But the city's working on things like that to help us, and the development company's working on things like that to help us. Anyone starting a business right now, you even look at the major retailers, they're not starting businesses. To give somebody an opportunity to catch their breath, like you said, catch your breath before you have to start getting hit and hit and hit and hit. And it gives you an opportunity to make a little money before you have to pay 100%. And if I don't start a business on this piece of land and it still has zero tax on improvement after 5 years, that 6th year there's 100% gain compared to what you would have got if I didn't build anything at all.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Harley's sitting over there. Come on up. We're gonna run out of time here, so.
I'll do it.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Bob Drake. I'm one of the owners of McFleet Feeds. We built a $5 million feed mill out on the east side of town.
Bob, can I have you just get a little closer?
Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
We built a $5 million feed mill on the east part of town, and we took advantage of the 2020 program, which was one of the things we looked at definitely when we came to Watertown. And if it was zero, it would have been an easier consideration. It would have been a lot, And then as a business owner and living on the lake, as I have to say, the more opportunity you can get in town to keep more of these stores open that are closing, that's a much bigger deal to the quality of life in Watertown than other things. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. How about commissioners? Everybody's sitting there pretty quiet. All right.
Well, first of all, it was brought up that this would be the only county in the state that would have a 0%. Within 3 months, every county in the state could have this within 6 months. It's not a, we're gonna do it, we're the only ones that we're gonna do it. Everybody can play follow the leader, real easy. We have got some businesses closing in town here and in the area. Maybe it's something due to an outdated business model. We've got Shopko closing, we've got Herberger's closing, Penny's closed, Kohl's is in trouble, some of the other ones are, but they're all following the same pattern. As far as cost of housing in Watertown, it's probably got more to do with our rapid expansion of Lake Area because we can't keep up. And there's been a number of 12 and 24 plexes, and we've got a new one going up by the cemetery. Hopefully that will alleviate some of that. If I was to look at this, I would say, and I appreciate the farmers, I understand that every bushel of grain that's being produced is being produced at a loss. We've got higher interest rates. A lot of local banks aren't even doing financing anymore. And the final thing is, I'd like to see it not permanent, but I'd put a 2-year limit on it.
Explain.
And just for 2 years, you got 2 years to come to town. Yes, it would go on for the 5-year period, but just this would be enacted for 2 years.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Chris, do you want to say something?
Chris Shilkin, Watertown Development Company. Chairman Johnson, appreciate your comments at the beginning, and I also would like to note that the county was a very big part of that, reaching that goal, so I appreciate that. Also appreciate the opportunity for this to be considered today, and I appreciate all the comments made by everybody here. I won't repeat what everybody else said, but I'll address Mr. Waterman's concern about 2 years. In our line of work, people like consistency and probability of what they're going to get. So long-term planning is a big thing for us. When we put out proposals, I mean, there's been projects in the works for years before they happen. So if you promise this on the front end and then 2 years later it goes away, that doesn't go over very well. I would like to see it as proposed, and at some point if the commission changes or if it gets different, you guys could bring it up again to go back to what it was. That would be my recommendation, to ask for it to be as written, and then if at some point in the future, if you want to change it back, I guess that's up to the commission at that time. So,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Yes. One more. You're the lucky one.
Glenn Vilhar, Watertown City Council. Just a couple of comments. For nearly 40 years, I've been involved either as a CPA working with a development company and now currently as a member of the City Council. And this item has come up any number of times over the years as a possible additional incentive. I disagree a little bit with what you say, Commissioner Johnson, about taxes not being an issue. As I've worked with the development company over the years, that has not been the case. I mean, there have been, I can think of a number of instances over the years where businesses did not relocate to Watertown because of the tax structure. Even with the current phase-in, that would have been so nice to have a little bit additional benefit there. It's not going to be a slam dunk or a grand slam for it. It's going to be a tool that we can put in our toolbox to offer to a prospective business out there. And for those that have not gotten the benefit of something like this in the past, I appreciate that. But by growing our tax base with our new businesses, that's going to help all taxpayers across the county by benefiting those that are relocating. So with that, I would encourage you to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks for your comments, Glenn. Anyone else? Any of the commissioners? Any other commissioners? Shauna, do you want to make any comments? Shauna is our Director of Equalization. Nothing?
I just don't really.
Don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot.
Let's see, I can say a couple things. For it, there's nothing that makes our office happier than telling someone that they're not going to have a tax bill or being able to lower their assessment. That is really a good thing for us. Hopefully it will bring things in, and hopefully, it will help it out. We already have the 20/40/60/80. It's not going to be an issue for us to implement it. It will have no bearings on our office really whatsoever. So professionally, I don't really have that much of an opinion on it. The only thing, I'm not really going to say I'm for it or against it, but what you, Commissioner Johnson, were trying to say is that I don't think people understand that we're actually taking away all of the growth that we get. So any business that adds over $30,000 worth of assessed value, that is going to go away, not just these big businesses that come in. So every year we have a big value of growth coming in, and then that's how we keep everyone's taxes lower. That's basically what decides our mill levies. And so if we are taking away all of that growth, that could essentially change the mill levies and make our mill levies higher. So it could essentially raise taxes or not lower taxes. No one will know. But then again, on the flip side, that's where if they don't come, we don't get it anyway. So that's just what could happen. No one knows. Is this going to work? Hopefully. If not, you guys can look at it. That's just my opinion as to what could happen, and that's where you talk about the taxes. It could change it for everyone else just because we're not getting that growth, but nobody knows what that growth would be anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Shauna. Appreciate it. Sorry to put you on the spot. Any more discussion?
So, Mr.
Hardy, one more thing.
Just one more, and this has been discussed in Watertown for a long, long time. I can appreciate that. I would like to see this, the outcome of this and the longevity of this, don't know how to word it, but based on performance. If it doesn't work, it goes away.
All right.
Well, I think we can always change the resolution at any time, can't we, Mr. Chair?
We can change the resolution. Yeah, it can be changed. What we really need in Watertown is a basketball team that's in the Sweet 16. That's what we need. Let's cut to the chase here.
I just feel we need to give this some time. I mean, you're not going to see results immediately in a year or 2 years. I mean, if you're given a 5-year break, you don't know what that outcome is going to be until you get further down into the process. But I just feel we need to be competitive. We need to maybe change some of how we're thinking about things and move forward on some of this and give it an opportunity.
If we don't do something different than what we've done in the past, we're going to have the same results going forward. That's the way I look at this resolution, is we have to think outside the box, and we have to try and figure out a way to get these companies to look at Watertown and to come here. We're a great city, great community, not only Watertown, Cottington County, because we're also talking about development in our smaller towns in the county. And so this is a county resolution, not a city resolution, although it will work for both. So that's where I stand on this. And Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we approve this as written today.
Well,
We already have a motion.
Okay.
we already have a motion and
Okay.
a second to approve the resolution.
As written?
Well, yeah, as you read it, yes.
Correct. Okay.
I appreciate all of the comments that everyone has made this morning, and you heard my comments and my thoughts. Kind of feel like the Lone Ranger. But I just hate to see something occur at the expense of someone else. And that's just my thoughts. Are you ready to vote on this?
Yep.
If you're ready to vote, I'm going to ask for a voice vote on this. So,
A roll call vote.
Roll call
Commissioner Gable,
Aye.
Commissioner Waterman,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
no.
Commissioner Van Duzen,
Aye.
Commissioner Hanton.
Aye.
That's
Motion
4
carries.
in favor, 4 in favor, 1 against.
Motion carries. All right, we got that out of the way. Let's go on, let's go back up to where I tried to go a little while ago, actually to approve contracts for housing of out-of-county inmates, and that contract is in your packet. The sheriff is not here to go over this with us. I have gone over it. The only thing I see different is the dollar amount. It's $85 now.
That's correct, yeah.
And as I have looked at these several times over the past few years, it's been workable. And
I'll move to
we
approve
have a
it.
motion by
Second that.
Gable, a second by Hatton. Any discussion?
Just,
These contracts are from Clark County, Dual County, Grant County, Hamlin, and Kingsbury. 5 contracts is what we're
so
approving.
this is, Mr. Chairman, if I could add.
Yes,
just-
discussion, yeah.
Yeah, this is something the sheriff and I have been talking about for quite a while, and it's time to go ahead and raise our rate for our, this is basically the cost of a bed in the jail going from $75 to $85 a night.
When I was asked for my 2 cents, I put in my 2 cents. I said we should jump it to $200 a day. Again, I think I was a Lone Ranger on that. And they said, well, we wouldn't get anybody. I said, well, that's the idea. So,
Jail numbers would be down.
Well,
jail numbers would be down, yeah.
That's a good thing to mention, because, I mean, the out-of-county inmates in our jail, typically it's from 5 to 10%. The average is just below 10%. As we get more crowded with our inmates, then that out-of-county number or that percentage goes down because we don't have room for them. but it's also part of being a community of counties, and so that's kind of understood that we're effectively a regional, even though the counties in our neighborhood are not that densely populated, we're still effectively kind of a regional center. Our detention center is so, and this is a way to make sure that the operational costs are covered, and then also as time goes by, this could also generate a little bit of that money that at the end of the year that we can put into the future building projects fund, through the general fund. So.
The point, and I agree with you, Lee. I totally agree with you. On the other hand, anytime we talk about a referendum or raising revenue for a bond issue, the first thing they're going to say, well, get rid of those inmates from out of the county. I mean, that's what the taxpayers are saying out there. They don't realize it's probably 6 or 8 inmates and a very, very small number.
And we have to, and I think that's a process of education, and then that's also another reason for Senate Bill 65 back, because which would have allowed for funding by half a penny sales tax, but in any event, that's another discussion.
Yep.
So.
Well, a portion of this does go towards paying a salary. I don't remember how much of that one person or whatever by previously anyways, the out-of-county contract money. When they figured it out, what it would really
it covers the cost of housing those inmates.
Besides that, if you make it too high, they will go someplace else.
And so this puts it, and if you're wondering about the market out there, this is kind of middle of the road. So there are jails that are at about the $100 mark in eastern South Dakota, and there are others that are a little less.
Do I have a motion? I have a motion by Gable and a second by Hatton. Any more discussion? Any more discussion?
A question, and the sheriff is not here to answer this, so it's a little unfair. When you say $85, does that include the repairs and maintenance on the building as well as the meals and help and everything?
Part of that.
I can talk to you about a little bit about how that's done. So, in order to come up with this figure, you basically take the operational expenses over a year, divide it by your average daily population, which does vary year to year. So basically, the lower the average daily population, the higher that number is. But yes, it covers all the routine annual expenses for the jail. So, Milo, correct me if I'm wrong, but the jail maintenance and repair budgets, that's a jail budget, not a building budget, correct?
It's within the county jail budget.
Right. So
it's not in the government buildings budget.
So the year-to-year expenses now, as far as capital improvement, the law does allow us to charge. So if we have some money left over, it makes its way back into the general fund. And the way we have been doing that is, as we have money, if we have money left in the budget at the end of the year, we've been either looking at the unprogrammed reserves or the future building projects fund. And so where we can, that's how that can contribute to capital improvement as well. And state law allows us to do that with the bed rate.
Any of the health care, though, Charlie, are, mileage and additional costs are charged back to the contracting county.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
That's not us.
We bill them for any medical.
I just had a question in my mind, and was the fact
that include prescriptions and the whole 9 yards.
I wanted the other counties to pay cost, not subsidize the other counties.
Yep.
Right.
Good question.
All right. Any more discussion? Good discussion. Appreciate that. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's go on to number 10 then. Sarah, come on up. Sarah's requesting to advertise to hire a part-time welfare assistant. Her current part-time assistant has tendered her resignation. So Sarah, go ahead.
Just basically, I wanted to make sure to clarify that this is already for an existing position, asking to advertise for that. And want to thank Angela for her time. She does a really good job. It's been a great employee to have. So
I'll make a motion to
Motion by Van
approve.
Duzen, second by Gable. Any discussion?
Sarah, when do you look at having that position advertised and filled?
I'm looking right now. I'm going to see how realistic is, either mid-May, to have posted to take applications through the middle of May. But looking at some of the graduation dates, we might extend it just a little bit too, seeing what's in the best interest there.
For clarification, this is a 20-hour.
19. clarification.
Yeah, 19-hour contract. We got to make certain of that. so
Maximum
everybody
19,
understands.
yeah, part-time.
19
This,
hours.
this will be following the same parameters that you had for Angela, or that we
Correct.
had for Angela.
Correct, the position is the same, yes.
What are the qualifications that this individual will need to have?
With the last application, we did ask for individuals to have, I'm pulling my memory, that's why my eyes are closed. We do request either experience, 2 to 5 years, or a degree in human services. Last application rounds, the majority of people, we had masters, a lot of masters and degrees. We didn't have any issues with the applications, qualified applicants. So if we weren't to meet that at that time, we would have a choice to send out or lengthen the time frame.
Thank you, Sarah. Any more comments? Any more questions? Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion
you,
carries.
sir.
Go ahead and get at it, Sarah. Let's go on to number 11, 12, and 13. Milo. I'm going to move right through these. The first one is action to authorize a project to install plumbing in Compesca Hall at Memorial Park, and this is a budgeted item. Milo, while you're getting settled in here, that is the hall that they have renovated and done a lot of work on.
That's the one we've been working on, formerly known as Building Number 5, which is located behind the manager's office. We're actually partway into this project already. We've cut the concrete out where the plumbing lines need to go and that kind of thing. So this is just a continuation of what we're working on. Our estimate to accomplish this, and this will be adding 2 bathrooms to that structure with 2 fixtures in each bathroom. The estimated price is $14,500.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion?
This will be an asset. There is nothing there at this time, so that way when we rent it out, that will be, make it much more accessible for individuals.
Sure be handy to have a bathroom in there, that's for sure.
This is budgeted to.
Yes, it's
Yes.
Any more discussion? Any more? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 12, this is the one I wanted to, action to authorize a project to install floor coating in the North Expo restrooms. Estimated cost $3,200, and this is also a budgeted item. What kind of coating are you talking about? What is that?
This is the same process that we did in the South Expo bathrooms last year, you know, with the,
Non-slip surface.
flake coating on there. It seems to be almost indestructible. So here again, a continuation of a project we've already started on.
It seems to me that it's less slippery too. Is that just my idea or?
Well, it's built in as a non-slip surface, you know, so.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Hatton,
Second.
second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? It is a budgeted item. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's go to 13 then, and that's action to authorize a project to install floor covering in the 3 areas at Memorial Park. Estimated cost is $13,000, and again, a budgeted
That
item.
is a typo. It should say floor coating.
And floor coating, yeah.
Is
not
it
covering.
coating? It's not covering, it's coating, right?
Coating.
All right.
Yeah. that's
Change
the
that
typo.
on the agenda.
Okay.
Coating.
Coating can cover the floor.
Okay, once again, this is the exact same process of what we've already done at the Ag Building and what you just approved to continue at the Ag Building. I split this into 2 projects. This year, what we're looking at doing is the bathhouse that's located next to the storm shelter, the bathhouse that's located next to the Girl Scout building, and then the office area.
Okay. You heard the request.
Move to approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by
Second.
Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Milo.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the help. Pass this on to your staff. out at the Extension Center in reference to filling sandbags. I was out there, and they're all working and working hard. Appreciate that very much.
Thanks, Milo.
Let's go on to number 14 then. This is discussion regarding vacation of the township road in Elmira Township. And Brenda has been working with that. We have a gentleman with us from that area. Please come up and introduce yourself so we know the press knows who you are.
Okay, my name is Don Riley. I live on the property along with 4 other properties that this
Have a chair.
I'm going to. First
Get
of all, I'm gonna
comfortable.
This sheet is out of the plot book of 2013, and it illustrates everything that I'm going to discuss or talk about. I was just asked to come here to bring up to speed all of the commissioners on the upcoming hearing that I understand is going to happen. That's all you got.
We're okay.
You okay? Okay. Well, anyway, back in 1975, under Resolution 1030, 454th North, which is the bordering avenue of Lake Township and Elmira Township, by 10 participants, along with 3 or 4 other closures happened all at the same time. The other 3 or 4 that happened had to do with the interstate abutments, and I feel that was a good thing to do. And part of the avenue that we're talking about, that I'm concerned about, is also no need, I don't believe, to open, because it's all of these are real low lands, and we just heard the discussion of the disaster, that first one this morning. But if you really study this plot and know what you're talking about or looking at, from 14th Avenue north, all of the water drains downhill into Mud Creek, which goes through 3 culverts adjoining my property and the property to the landowner in Lake Township on the west side of that road. And back in 2011, we had a similar water problem as we have today, and that was right after the completion of the pipeline that the city put in from the wells northeast of me up in there, which are presently pumping fine. It's nothing to do with this, but in doing so, the culverts were smashed, and they were only like 10-inch culverts in the first place. Well, in that same year, east of me 5 miles, a farmer drained a whole quarter into Mud Creek, which is legal, because you can run it into any moving creek or whatever. Well, that all come into my pasture and property, and was coming into the buildings, and it wouldn't go over because there was no way for it to come until it got to the height going over the roads. I contacted the township for it, and I went to their meeting, and they simply said, "We don't have money to do your culverts." I said, "Well, I don't have money to watch and let my property be destroyed. Either you're going to fix them or I'm going to tear them out. You can't do that. That's township property." I said, "If you want to drive over and watch, you're welcome, because I'm not going to stand here. It's been a fight since the beginning of time. You can't stop water. It has to run." Okay, well, then all of a sudden everybody got really busy, and they come to the courthouse and dug out this resolution, and it states that it was closed in 1975. And so be it. So I investigated further, went to the register of deeds, and there was a paper there, and I was told by a person in the register of deeds, if this was really legal, it would be on all the documents of the purchased properties which it is not yet today, and never was. Well, then I got shut down, I got 2 channels. I was told by the district attorney, doesn't matter how it was closed, if it was not closed, within 2 years it becomes law. Now, that's the craziest thing I ever heard of, and I don't really believe it. But as such, therefore, from 2011 on, that's how it surfaced. We're all thinking the township just ain't doing their job because they would not service it, they wouldn't open it, they wouldn't grade it, and it's still not being done anything with it today. So since 2011 to present, all of the property owners along here have been taken upon themselves to keep themselves in and out and maintaining the road. Now, I just heard a long discussion about how we're going to give a discount for businesses or whatever to come into this area. Well, I don't know, I think it's about time you take care of some of the businesses that are here. On all property owners there, you got Social Security members, you got UPS officials, various walks of life that were trying to survive here. The tax, we just did the tax thing. We've been paying taxes since 2000. Ever since the property has been purchased by each individual. That's not changed, and it continues to be that same. We should get that all back. Them culverts, I put in, I and the adjoining landowner, if you look on that lot where it crosses that road that we're talking about, within my property and across the road to his property, we spent a couple $1,000 of our own money to put in 38-inch culverts, 3 of them professionally installed by a contractor that does that to move the water, and it's doing a great job. We went from a 10-inch plug culvert that the city or contractors putting pipeline in smashed to nothing. But anyway, I guess that's all past thing. You talk about the flooding that's going on right now. If them culverts was not to be there, if you look at the lay of the land, it would follow the railroad track along this addition of lot 1, 2, and 3, and my property, which is 3 and 4, which is not a part of this Harold's addition that'll be brought up and talked about in a hearing quite extensively. Actually, it was talked about opening that road, hopefully, to my property. But I ain't going to get it because I need it for property reasons to be where the signage is on the end of my property, on the north edge of that property. And that's, if anybody has worked, and I know several that I'm looking at, you know exactly what I'm talking about. On any print, a proposed figure or addition or deduction is, on a print, is denoted by dotted lines. And if you look at the paper in front of you, that starts at the end of my property on the north end. It never was intended to close out to the section line.
That's what you're referring to? Okay.
And that same dotted line goes on every other place where it's been closed. So that resolution was wrote wrong in the first place, and being there was only 2 landowners along that whole stretch at that time, and one of them rented the other one, there was no opposition for anybody to even protest it or have a reason to protest it because it was beneficial to them at that time. But now, that's not so.
Right. So to bring us up to speed, Don contacted me because since 2011, they haven't been receiving services, which then we discovered the resolution was done.
Right.
It was done by the commission. We don't really know why. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions.
At this time. We just need to get it resolved.
Yeah, so what's happening, I have contacted our state's attorney and have been in conversation with Elmira Township board members. A couple of them I had a discussion. What the process now is going to be, you know, this was done previous to some of these landowners being here. And the reason the township wasn't doing it is because by resolution it did vacate it. So For them, it was a liability to go on there, and that's why they weren't able to give them
I
service.
understand that, but, they did fail. They never contacted anybody. Everybody to this day, and I've kept it low profile, because can you understand if that gets out and that don't get opened? Every one of them are gonna move out, including myself. Because you can't, property values are zero. Your insurance is gonna be zero, because nobody is going to carry insurance on anything that doesn't have services. It's just gonna balloon.
So I have talked, the state's attorney has referred me over to Tom Burns, and I am working with Tom to reopen a portion of this road. It will be the county that will do it because it was the county who closed it or vacated it. So we're working through that process, what Don is talking about. There will be a hearing, and so I just kind of wanted to bring you up to speed of kind of where we're at, so that when this hits the desk, you're going to know, or if you have any questions
But I
of
want
Don.
to make very clear, though, it's crucial that where we put the declaration of instrument as to the end of where that is closed and going to be still closed and where it's going to be open.
Yeah, like the half section line?
It's got to be at where the signage is and where the dotted line starts, which is where the signs, the state don't even recognize that it is closed. They put up minimum maintenance. Them signs need to be changed, vacated. And the classification I want to bring up as well, that we feel that we should be classified the same as any other township road, for instance, 38 going by. I don't want to end up with the minimum maintenance that they grade at one time a year. It needs to have service the same as any other township road.
And once we go through this process, then that's something you'll have to take up with the township, because it will be turned back to the township, and they do the classifications on
I
that.
know that, but I want that to be, so when you hear the discussion at the hearing, that's why it's being discussed.
Right, and I will talk to Tom and show him this map as to,
Everybody's seen this map, but nobody, unless it directly affects you, really look at it and understand it's pointed out why them dotted lines are where they are. It never was to be closed down in the end of the section. The comment once I heard was, well, you gotta have some legal starting point. You just can't do it in the middle of the road. That was by a township person. Well, you can't. It was done that way in the first place, but it never was recorded or wrote that way.
so.
I appreciate your comments.
Yes.
This has been an issue for many, many years. Go
Yeah,
back in
I mean-
history, and there's been some people that lived along there that didn't want anybody back there.
No, and they still
Plain and
don't,
simple.
but that's not what.
That's why
the
we're
way
not-
we're doing it, they will benefit too, because it will not, there's not necessarily no need to open it beyond where I stated.
Then that
Unless
would
you're
be
a hunter.
What's that?
Unless you're a hunter.
In the
It's
right of way?
private land anyway. Once it was vacated, you got no business back there anyway, because there's no.
If it's actually vacated.
well,
It's been
According to what you're saying, it is. We're
By
trying
this
to get it open.
resolution, it has been
It
vacated.
has been
the
closed, so
whole
if you step on
distance.
beyond that sign, actually you're trespassing.
So anyways, to reopen this, we thought we weren't going to go the whole way. That adds more onto the township. We'll see when they come into the hearing what their thoughts are, I guess,
You
at
gotta
this
be
point.
careful when you're closing, you're gonna leave that whole thing closed. You got, for instance, fire protection way back there. Are you gonna drive on this guy's property or this guy's?
Is there anybody who lives up in there that they'd need to
There
get a?
isn't, but your wells are up there. They drive up and down there every week. And the farmer that has different quarters up there, they drive down that road. If we leave it vacated, they're not coming down this road anymore off 38. And if you think you're hearing a bunch of noise now, that would be an issue. So it's you got to think that real close before.
Those things will be discussed at the hearing,
Yeah,
I guess.
I understand it.
and then-
I'm
yeah.
just bringing it up to speed to what we all
Right.
need to look at.
So that's where we're at. Tom will be bringing those documents forward. I just felt we should have something on record of a request from the landowners who live along there
Just
to kind of
informational.
make
I'm
sense.
not here to pro and con at this time.
Good stuff.
Otherwise, back in 1975, we couldn't find whatever spurred this or what for sure. We don't know. So that's why we want
You
documentation.
know, and you gotta remember, since 1975 until 2011, when I had an issue of being flooded, it was being graded, those when we had 6, 8, and 9, I went back and talked to the people on the property. Those 2 big culverts that are brand new now were torn out and let the water go because they were small, and everything would have been flooded from here to Sioux Conifer Road had that not been done. And I do know that they were put back by the township at that time. But when I had the same problem up north, no, that's on your own.
I suppose it was because of the vacation.
Yeah, I don't know. But
One moment, Rick, are you up to speed on this? Rick, the highway superintendent here. We're talking about getting the county involved in this possibly some way, somehow. Do you know what we're talking about and where we're at and what's going on? Yeah, I figured you did. Yep. All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for...
Don, right?
Yep.
Don?
Riley.
Thanks,
Yep.
Don.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have some surplus property we need to declare as surplus property. There's a couple of handouts in your packet. This is from the sheriff's office, and I believe they're computers or...
Let's see. Yeah, a couple of computers. Everything is to be destroyed. Computers and radios.
Make
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Target practice material. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Do we have a representative here from the Lions Club?
No.
No, no one here. They're requesting
Well, no, it's not a request, it's just...
notification.
Per the law, they are notifying the board that they have an intent to hold a raffle. So the board does not take any action on it unless at some future time you want to object to it.
The request is in your packet. You'll get a chance to see that. This is to conduct bingo. They're not only going to sink the lion, they're going to play bingo too. So
Every Wednesday night at Second Street Station, planning to start after April 15th. They'll take the summer off before they start again in the fall. And that will be held at Second Street Station. And it is the Watertown Lions Club.
we don't need a motion on this. It's just for our information. So consider this information. Number 18, action for change orders submitted for courthouse project remodel. Lee, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is one we've kind of talked about before. You recall we talked about that additional partition wall in the north vestibule. This was originally part of that change order, and we just did the wall part that looks similar to the zigzag wall that's down there now. This deals with the portion of the wall that would go from the top of those framed walls to the ceiling. So this, the reason we didn't do it before was this amount was over $5,000, and I was a little hesitant. I thought that was kind of high, so we looked at some ways to get the cost down. And so this is a motion so I'm making a motion to approve PR 21RA in the amount of $2,656.
What was that amount again?
$2,656. And
I got 2,562.
No, that's a different one.
Different
This is
amount.
right here.
Oh, okay, I got it.
There you go.
Yep, I
Yeah,
see.
make-
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
that's all part of it, yeah, it's all.
The motion by Lee, second by Commissioner Hatton. Any discussion?
Just, and if you want to see, Mr. Chairman, on the cover, on the cover
Yep.
sheet, that just shows the effect on the change orders, on the overall
Yep.
budget, so it still leaves us, I can put it on the screen here, just leaves us in the black on the project cost at $3,518 ahead as a result of change orders, which is kind of...
With this portion of it, the sheriff has been involved with.
Oh, yeah, he's been very involved in it. So this is all about,
Okay.
dealing with the historical architecture and ensuring that we have the proper levels of security. So then so
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Action to approve claims for payment. Do we have any today?
Today we have March salary claims in the amount of $551,844.64.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Van Duzen, second by Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Let's go on to number 20, action to approve automatic budget supplements. We have any?
None today. We have one personnel change, and that is the next agenda item.
And that's in your pocket?
Eugene Bainan is a seasonal rehire at Memorial Park. He'll start at step 3, $16.17 an hour per the request of the facilities manager.
Move to approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Is he got about a full staff out there now? Is he getting close?
I don't think he's got like his lawnmowers and that type of
Okay.
thing yet. These people are being hired to get the infrastructure ready, I believe, so.
Yep.
There may be a couple more part-time that come through just for mowing.
Okay, good. We gotta get some grass first. Get rid of the water first, I guess.
It's hard to mow snow.
Yep. Any more discussion? All in
you can
favor
do it.
indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Any travel requests? I didn't see any.
Nothing.
And I think the one that Mr. Sutton talked about before, did we approve that last week?
That'll be coming.
That'll be coming,
He
yeah,
said it would
yes.
be coming, yeah.
All right, any old business to come before the board today? Any old business? I don't know if it's old business, but I guess it kind of is. I just want to thank any and everyone that was involved in the open house for the new courtroom this past week. We had, I felt, a good attendance there. Thank the paper and the radio station for interviews and follow-ups on that. Very much appreciated. I have had a couple of people stop me and say, we really think that that was a good idea. And I tell you what, you know, when someone actually comes up and says, hey, I think that was a great idea, what you're doing up there, and that's, when you get some positive comments in reference to a courtroom, that's good. That's good. That's what I have for,
Can I just
yeah.
piggyback on what you said, Mr. Chairman? There is a video on the Cottington County Justice Advisory Committee Facebook page. If you didn't get a chance to go to the open house, you can watch the video. The only difference is I now have to add the amount of this change order to the budget. There's a couple slides that talk about the cost, but other than that, it gives people a good overview. So.
And thank you for all your work, Lee. Really, really appreciate it. And your committee did regroup again, and Lee is the chairman. Who else would possibly take that job? No. But thank you for doing it. We appreciate it. And Commissioner Van Dusen is also on that committee, and we appreciate all the people that are participating in that.
Vice Chairman, just saying.
Yeah.
All right, any other old business? Any other old business? How about new business? Any new business? Any new business? Seeing none, then let's go on to the open. A couple of things that I have. I did attend the Crown Ridge Wind PUC hearing in Waverly the other night, and it was kind of the same choir, just a different church. Maybe it was the same church, and I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. I stayed for most of it. They took a break, and I escaped. I could almost say verbatim, the same people, the same script that they came in with before. In fact, I think they're just copying their scripts and carrying it to each one of these hearings. And the PUC will be acting on this in the near future. So, but they had to go through the procedure, and there weren't as many people there as there was at the last hearing, but there were still quite a few people there. Same people. The other thing is that there might be a quorum tonight at the Cottington Clark Electric Co-op meeting. As their annual meeting tonight, so I don't know, Harley, it involved you and me and I don't know who else, but there might be a quorum. That's what I have for the open. Anyone else?
I guess I should have mentioned, Lee and I attended the Sioux Valley Commissioners meeting over in Bryant last Wednesday.
Thank you for doing that.
That was always really interesting to get the legislators' input after they are out of session or so.
Yeah, it's a little bit of feedback on Senate Bill 65. It was generally positive. And Nancy York, she was the prime sponsor in the House. She didn't get an opportunity to make it over there. But yeah, that was a good rundown on some stuff, so.
I've had a chance to visit with Nancy in reference to that a couple of different times and thanked her for her support. And you know, I think that you hit the nail right on the head, Lee, when you said that generally something like that, it doesn't ever pass the first or second time. It takes a little bit of follow-up, and so make plans for next year, right?
Well, I remember Commissioner Kelly from Minnehaha that worked ever since I first was elected to the board till the year that he didn't, well,
He
about
was
2
not-
years ago, that he lost, but he actually got that through on the alcohol tax to help the county, so
Yeah,
it
yeah.
Yeah,
takes
it was
a long
his,
time.
Discussion.
it was his life's mission there almost there, but he got her done. He did do it, and we're benefiting from that.
Yes, we are. We're
Very
using
good.
it, we're applying it to our people who run the 24/7 program. And one of our part-time deputies, we're applying it towards their salaries, so.
All right, we're in the open. Rick, have you got anything to report to us this morning?
Just like to give you a little update.
We'd appreciate that. We know that you've escaped your pickup for a few minutes, and we want to give you the opportunity to share with us and the press. Rick, introduce yourself so everybody knows for sure who you are.
Rick Hartley with the Cottington County Highway Department. At the current time, we still have 3 roads closed in the county. 2 of them, I'm not sure. One, for sure, I don't know when it'll be open. That is on County Road 4, west of County Road 11, 159th Street, down by the Big Sioux. The water has receded some, but it's still going over the road, so that's going to take a little time. And there's more snow to melt, so that may be underwater for quite a while. The next one is 4-5, which is east of County Road 11. That is 161st Street.
Yep.
Maybe tomorrow. There's still ice there, little water going over it, but hopefully that'll go down enough today to get that back open. We'll have to haul a little gravel in there because it's washed some of that out. Sioux Conifer Road, hopefully we'll have that open by noon today. We're going to inspect it and see what the culverts look like. There's a little bit of ice on there, not much, so hopefully maybe the sun will come out and help us a little bit, but I'd like to get that off there because there's water on both sides of the road for about a half mile, so that alleviates some of the risk of going in the ditch there, so.
Rick, that one road that you were talking about, is that over by Meadow Lake?
No, that's
No,
north.
this is all north of town.
The place out south of Walmart there, that road, that culvert had been topped yesterday, I believe. And that road was blocked yesterday.
Yep.
Is that still blocked today?
I'm sure it is.
Okay,
Because that's a township road, and I usually don't
it is a township, okay,
travel those.
Sheridan Township.
sure.
Yep.
A lot of the township roads have not been barricaded, and some of them maybe should have. Right behind my place, I make the tour maybe 2 or 3 times a day up throughout my country, up in that area. The spillway behind my place, we have a non-written rule in our local housing area back there. If you can't see concrete on both sides of the spillway, you don't go through it. I mean, that's just a non-written rule that all of our kids and all of our residents down there understand, because you may lose it. Yesterday morning when I was down there, my neighbor went through it with his van, and that just tells you how much it has went down. But we have had some absolutely perfect freezing and thawing weather. Thank the Lord for the weather that he has sent us, or she has sent us, whoever, and the 40 degree, 50 degree, and then 30s at night really has helped. Because it's amazing how that stuff has subsided overnight. The thing that is, as I see, there's a lot of big ice chunks that are still out there floating, and they're bigger than some cars, I'll tell you that. They can get you.
Yep.
But I did meet the county pickup with a trailer load of barricades heading north when I came in this morning, so they were headed up in that direction
Yep, they were
somewhere.
going up to pick up some barricades to open up. There was one east of Waverly that the culvert opened up yesterday afternoon, so it let the water off it. So they were going to be able to open that up.
Yep.
There was one by Henry that they had closed yesterday afternoon because the water came up, same thing, culvert that we couldn't get to opened up. So, like I said, right now, we should only have 3 roads closed. I just got a picture a little while ago that there's one south of Tinkertown that has come up on the road on both sides, so that may be getting closed today or tomorrow, depending on what happens. We try to keep them open as long as they can get through there, without any problem, but we put signs up to warn them.
Yeah.
Is that the one where we rebuilt that road a few years back and they had to take alternative routes for quite a while, and it was that stretch?
This spot has been built up several times. Yeah, it's west of County Road 23, roughly a half mile north of the county line.
The other day I come down County Road 11 and my neighbor and his son were out on the bridge with their shotguns, and I pulled up and they said, I don't know if this is legal, they were shooting and they had shells laying all over it, and they were shooting ice chunks and opening the bridge up, and I'm not joking, and he said, another guy had stopped and they said, well, what are you guys doing down there? I said, well, we're protecting our property by trying to get this bridge opened up. I went back a little while later, and I tell you what, it was flowing pretty good through there. They asked, is this legal? And I said, no, I just stopped to ask if you needed more shells. But anything you can do, well, your backhoe wouldn't reach out there far enough, so they were taking care of it. So there's a lot of people working from all different angles behind the scenes on this project, and that's what we need. All right, Rick, anything else?
As a small ray of hope, and in a humorous way, everybody saw my pictures of my road.
Yep.
And my driveway. And last night I went home and turned off County Road 17 onto 161st Avenue, or Street, and I looked in my mirrors and I saw dust.
You saw dust. I tell you what, I see out on my place, there's thousands and thousands of geese. I have never seen that many geese out in my, there's fields that are just covered with geese out there right now. And I did see, of course, this goes right along with it. In fact, I almost had to stop. There was a dead rabbit laying in the road, and it was a bald eagle picked it up. And I was as close as from me to Hardy away from that bald eagle. They're beautiful. Oh, man. A wind spring from me to Hardy. I think that's unbelievable. But those are things to watch out there. So there is some pleasure in the flood, too. Anything else for...
Mr. Chair, if I could just give an update. I've been in the Emergency Operations Center since we opened on Sunday.
Well, you've been on TV, you've been on radio.
I know.
Should get your signature here.
So I was at the briefing this morning, and I just wanted to give the commissioners an update on what's going on as far as water levels. Water levels are remaining steady. They will continue to remain steady throughout the day today. The current anticipated crest on the Big Sioux is Thursday morning at 1 o'clock in town here, and it's going to be at a level of 12.7 feet, which has gone down significantly, so that's good, but we're still going to see a high level. Current level this morning is right at 11 feet, so 10.99 feet this morning at the briefing. So it's going to crest at 12.7 feet on Thursday morning at 1 o'clock. That was the last projection that we had from the National Weather Service gauges. It goes down at night, of course. Cooler temperatures slows the water down, so it'll recede a little bit, and then it's going to come up. And now that we're going to be seeing 50-degree days starting tomorrow, and the next day we're going to see 24-hour snow melt. And in the Emergency Operations Center, they were saying yesterday that we figure we got about 50% snow coverage yet up north in the watershed. So there's a lot of snow melt that's going to be pushing its way down towards northern Coddington County, or Coddington County here, just north of Watertown and into Watertown and Lake Compesca. So one more thing to tell you here, that later on it's going to be evaluated. Once water starts to crest or break 10th Avenue they're going to close 10th Avenue. And so you'll have to find an alternative route. As soon as the water goes over 10th Avenue, then they're going to be considering closing the additional routes too, like 3rd Avenue, Kemp. Just to give us a heads up, because once it gets to a level where it's crossing 10th Avenue, we got more water coming into town. So just wanted to throw that out there.
It's a
In
good
the
point.
area of Max Hardware on Highway 212 today, they're going to be setting up HESCO baskets later this evening. So they're going to have a couple of eastbound traffic lanes shut down as traffic goes through there. So, and that's what we have so far.
One thing, if you go north of town, out on County Road 11, out towards my place out there, you're starting to see some bald spots out in the field. You know, it's starting to show up, which is really good. But what people, I don't think, realize is all the tree belts out there, there's 6, 8, 10 feet of snow in those tree belts yet, and that's going to be there a long time. There's a lot of snow in those tree belts out there, and that's going to take a while for that. So this is going to be ongoing for some time.
This crest that we're anticipating to happen on Thursday morning at 1 o'clock at 12.7 feet is, if you look at the graph from the National Weather Service, it'll peak, and then it's a long, slow tail before it recedes. So we're going to have a lot of water moving through for a long time.
And if you really want to watch that, go on the National Weather Service website, and I watch it all the time. I watch it often. Right south of my place on Gravel Creek, there's one of those stations, and then over on the river, right west of the casino. And those are two, and we pay dearly for that service. We pay a lot of money for those services, so use them.
Yep.
And it's fun to watch them.
Just go to the National Weather Service office website. There's a link on there for rivers and streams. If you click on that, it'll pull up all the different gauging stations throughout the nation, and you can select Cottington County, Watertown. You can get it right down to the specific gauge, and those are the gauges that we're watching in the EOC to determine what the water flow is, a cubic foot per second that's moving through. So.
If you go to NWS or what is it, weather.gov/ADR, it takes you right to the Aberdeen National Weather Service.
Yep.
Then click on rivers and lakes, and you'll see our area.
Yep.
You said weather.gov what?
/ADR.
I think it's a look and see. They'll say the Florence Station. Well, the Florence Station is really that one right west of the casino on the Sioux River. But they'll say the Florence.
I kind of wonder about how they got the name.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I don't know if I've missed anyone this morning as far as thank yous for all the work and extra efforts that have been made, and I just can't say it enough time. Thank you, Rick, and for all your staff for being out there and working a lot of overtime, I'm sure. Lots of hours.
The guys were sandbagging at the Ag Center this morning because they didn't have any staff over there to.
Oh, they were over sandbagging this morning too.
Yeah, so
When I was out there yesterday afternoon, there was one company. Well, I think it was Midco. Midco, I think, was out there. I don't know if they sent their whole crew out there, but Midco was out bagging. So we appreciate that. Yeah, very, very good. Just thank everybody for all of the efforts and everything that they've done, and we're going to get through this. We'll get through it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
One more thing before we
Well,
do, before
all
we
right.
adjourn, and if Jim was here, he would have brought it up. We have a weather spotter information class.
Yeah, he did.
Okay,
should say it.
I missed that.
Yep, he did. It's tonight and then again on Thursday, I believe.
This afternoon at 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, we had a lot of territory to cover this morning.
Don Riley.
Oh, yeah.
Tony? Yeah, I thought you gave him a good answer.
Do I have to sign it?
Yeah, you do. I know you voted no, but
Can I sign it and then put a no?
no.
I'd like to have a conversation with you. There's things that have been thrown out there that are not accurate.
So you got the security station.
So be it.
I want to tell you that I need
I
to
think he
explain.
potentially could, but he needs a couple.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate.
He needs to hire the guy. We've got the, so they've got, I think he's.
I didn't want to mention the
More
fact
for the
that
flood.
there's no raises next year.